In the late 1700s, a specific practice terrified parts of Europe and early America to such an extreme degree that entire villages legally forbid speaking its name after sunset. They called it the Black Veil, and historical records from that era carry a specific warning. Simply hearing the exact details of how the ritual works acts as the final step of the process. The most thorough records begin in the winter of 1788, outside a small settlement in Massachusetts. Strange deaths plague the region. Animals freeze in the woods, children hear whispers outside their windows, and every few nights someone vanishes without leaving a footprint or a drop of blood. While locals initially blamed witchcraft or the devil, an elderly priest linked the disappearances to a forgotten Eastern European grieving practice. Immigrants fleeing to the colonies decades earlier brought the tradition with them as a way to speak to the dead one final time. Trapped inside isolated cabins for months, colonial families lived in a state of constant, quiet desperation. This environment allowed the fear of the ritual to spread through the community like a fever. To begin, 3 participants must drape a black cloth over a mirror and arrange 13 candles in a circle. At midnight, the cloth is removed. Participants read names of dead relatives into the glass. Candles must burn out naturally. Once the final flame dies, looking directly into the glass is forbidden. If a reflection shows something standing behind them, they must never acknowledge it. Staring into dim light while calling for the dead creates a specific strain on the mind. In the silence of the dark, the brain begins to fill the empty space with shapes it was never meant to see. On February 3rd, 3 siblings living near the edge of the settlement attempted the ritual. They were grieving a younger sister who had died of a winter fever only weeks earlier, and they were determined to hear her voice again. They locked themselves inside the farmhouse after sunset. Neighbors later reported seeing the glow of candlelight through the windows as midnight approached. According to later accounts, the room became cold the moment the names were read. The mirror began fogging over, but the moisture was forming on the inside of the glass, as if someone were breathing on it from within the mirror. Then came a rhythmic tapping from beneath the floorboards. Soon, voices began to whisper. They sounded like the siblings' dead relatives, sharing private memories and using specific accents no stranger could have known. By using these intimate details, the ritual draws the participants deeper into the experience. The whispers force the siblings to focus entirely on the dark room around them. As the candles died one by one, the youngest sibling tried to run, but the others held the circle. The final flame stretched upward, almost reaching the ceiling, before it suddenly extinguished. Darkness filled the room. The surviving brother claimed a tall, thin figure, wrapped in wet black fabric, stepped out from the mirror and stood directly behind the youngest boy. The figure whispered into the boy's ear, and he began to scream. He ran for the wooden front door, but before his hand could touch the latch, he simply vanished. The sister broke the rule and turned around. She didn't look afraid. She looked as if she recognized the figure standing behind her. She calmly walked into the shadows near the stairs and disappeared as well. At sunrise, a neighbor found the front door wide open. The mirror was shattered from the inside out, and the oldest brother was sitting against the wall, catatonic. He only whispered one sentence: "Don't let it stand behind you." What began as a search for closure ended in a trap. The ritual didn't bring their sister back. It only ensured that the siblings followed her into the dark. The local priest ordered the farmhouse burned and forbade the villagers from speaking the ritual's name. He hoped that by destroying the location and the story, he could stop the disappearances. The cover-up failed. Similar stories began appearing in Pennsylvania, Virginia, and eventually back in Germany and France. Everywhere the story was told, the pattern repeated. Researchers later found references to these practices in 16th century European woodcuts. The fear of mirrors and the entities they might hold is a thread that runs through centuries of folklore. This leaves a disturbing question. Was this a case of shared trauma spreading through colonial settlements? Or did these families unknowingly tap into a phenomenon that remains active today? One phrase appears in nearly every archived report of the ritual, regardless of the country or the century. It serves as a warning to those who hear the story. Once seen, it follows home. People who survived the experience claimed their homes changed. Reflections in hallways began moving a second too late. Shapes appeared briefly in the corner of the eye. Some were so terrified they destroyed every mirror they owned. The ritual eventually vanished from public knowledge until 2011, when renovation workers found a cloth-wrapped journal hidden beneath the floorboards of an old Massachusetts farmhouse. A surviving paragraph in the journal warns, "Do not answer knocks after midnight or look into dark mirrors." It pleads, "If someone whispers your name, do not turn around." The back cover features a burned symbol, 13 candles with a shadowy figure standing behind them. The black veil survives through memory and silence. And by listening to this history tonight, you have essentially invited the ritual into your own home.